They say an Alpha King should sleep like the dead. Marcus Thornfield had been dead for 3 years. He just forgot to stop breathing. The war room clock read 03:14 hours when the mate bond flared to life for the first time in 1,000 days. Sharp, undeniable. The feeling of her consciousness brushing against his like a ghost, learning to be solid again. Marcus's hand froze halfway to the coffee mug, Wolf surging forward with a recognition that made his bones ache. She was here, in the palace. After 3 years of silence so complete, he'd convinced himself the bond had died with her body in some unmarked grave. The casualty report lay open where he'd left it at midnight. 47 names, 47 soldiers who died under his command 3 years ago in Kandahar. Back when he'd been Colonel Thornfield, Special Forces commander. The kind of soldier who brought everyone home, except when he didn't. They'd made him Alpha King because of those deaths. Because the kingdom needed someone who understood loss. Because guilt made better leaders than glory. Because when you wore the weight of 47 failures, you didn't make careless decisions about who lived and who got sacrificed for politics. The bond pulsed again, stronger, closer. His mate was moving through the palace with purpose and stealth that could only mean one thing. She was coming to kill him. Marcus was moving before conscious thought, muscle memory older than his crown, instincts that predated the 3 years of pretending his mate was dead instead of captured. He grabbed the silver knife from his desk, the one that matched the blade he'd given Eden Cross the day she made sergeant. The day he'd realized his best combat medic was also the woman the moon goddess had chosen for him, and he'd been too much of a coward to tell her. The bond had been subtle back then. Easy to ignore when you convinced yourself personal feelings had no place in chain of command. Easy to bury when admitting it meant acknowledging you'd send your mate into combat zones that could kill her. Easier to let her think he was cold than admit he was terrified every time she walked into danger. His second in command appeared in the doorway, already armed, already moving with the coordination of someone who'd followed Marcus through 3 wars and 1 catastrophic promotion to royalty. Garrett Stone looked at Marcus's expression and knew immediately. She's here. The bond says yes. Marcus's voice was steady. Command voice. The one that had given orders in Kandahar while he'd listened to his mate scream over comms for 8 minutes. She's in the palace, moving toward the throne room. Is she compromised? Yes. And no. And I don't know. Marcus could feel her through the bond now. Rage and desperation and something else. Programming. Compulsion, the kind that turned wolves into weapons, but underneath it, fighting it, the woman he'd known for 8 years, the soldier who'd bought 23 people 8 minutes to escape, the mate who'd volunteered for torture to save strangers because that's what she did, saved people, even when it cost her everything. He'd found the footage 2 years ago, buried in captured enemy intelligence, Eden Cross walking into that facility, negotiating, trading herself for the other Kandahar prisoners, choosing to become experiment so 23 soldiers could go home to their families. She hadn't been captured. She'd been volunteered, sacrificed herself because she blamed herself for the mission failure when the only person who deserved blame was the commander who'd ignored her tactical assessment that it was a trap. Marcus had watched that footage 100 times, watched his mate make the choice that saved 23 lives and cost her 3 years of hell. Watched her look at the camera one last time, like she knew someday he'd see this and understand. I should have listened to her. The words were out before Marcus could stop them. Bitter truth. She said Kandahar was a trap. I ordered the mission anyway. 47 people died. She got captured, and they turned her into the thing she swore to fight against. You followed intelligence that said the asset was valuable. Garrett's voice was careful. You made the call any commander would make. Any commander except one who trusted his mate's instincts over classified reports. Marcus headed for the door. Alert the guards. Non-lethal containment only. She's not enemy combatant. She's a prisoner of war fighting hostile programming. We bring her in alive. And if she kills you first, then you make sure she survives it. Marcus's smile was cold. Because I'm not losing my mate twice. The throne room was exactly where the bond said she'd be. Standing in the center beneath the skylight where moonlight painted everything silver, combat gear, tactical black, hood-concealing features except for eyes that glowed Omega gold when she turned to face him. Omega. They'd turned his mate into an Omega. The classification that had been extinct for a century. the power that could influence entire packs, the thing his father had hunted and imprisoned in the name of kingdom security. Marcus's father had kept 12 Omegas in cryo-storage in the sublevels. Project Nightfall, preservation and study, torture disguised as science. When Marcus inherited the throne along with his father's sins, he'd shut it down, released 8 Omegas who could still function, kept 4 in stasis because waking them would have been kinder than letting them live with what had been done to them. Cassius Thornfield, his cousin, lead scientist on Project Nightfall, had stolen the research when Marcus ordered the program terminated, stolen decades of data on how to create Omega soldiers, sold it to enemy forces who'd been experimenting on captured wolves ever since. Eden was the first successful conversion. His mate, his sergeant, his responsibility. Eden. He kept his voice steady, kept the Alpha command buried, kept the mate bond locked down tight because if she felt how much seeing her alive hurt, it might trigger whatever programming they'd embedded. Come home, please. She moved. Fast. Impossibly fast. Omega enhanced. She crossed 20 feet in under 2 seconds. No warning. Pure combat efficiency honed by 3 years of conditioning Marcus couldn't begin to imagine. He blocked her first strike. Barely. She was inside his guard, elbow driving toward his throat, and he redirected her momentum the way he'd taught her 8 years ago when she'd first joined his unit and needed to learn hand-to-hand from someone who wouldn't go easy just because she was female. She adjusted instantly, attacked from different angle, lower, targeting his knee, the one that had taken shrapnel in Ramadi, the weakness only someone who'd trained with him would know. Marcus shifted weight, absorbed the impact on his thigh, and felt the bond scream with recognition. His wolf recognized her wolf beneath the Omega overlay. Recognized mate, despite the golden eyes and the programming forcing her to attack, and the 3 years of torture that stood between who she'd been and what they'd made her. Eden, stop. He didn't fight back. Couldn't. Not against his mate, not against the woman who'd saved his life in 3 different combat zones. Not against the sergeant who'd volunteered to be tortured so other soldiers could live. She didn't stop. Press the attack with the mechanical precision of someone following orders she couldn't disobey. Strike to the ribs, knee to the solar plexus, elbow toward the temple. Each one aimed to disable, not kill. Yet. Garrett burst through the doors with 6 guards. Marcus raised his hand, stopped them cold. No one engages, that's an order. She'll kill you. Garrett's voice was tight. Maybe, but I won't kill her. Marcus blocked another combination, gave ground, kept his attention on Eden's eyes, on the gold that meant Omega power, and the gray underneath that meant his mate was still in there fighting. 8 years, Eden. We trained together for 8 years, fought side by side, bled together. You know every weakness I have. You know exactly how to kill me, but you haven't, because you're stronger than their programming. For a heartbeat she hesitated, hand trembling mid-strike, the Omega glow flickering. Then she whispered, voice rough from disuse or screaming or 3 years of surviving what should have killed her. Run, please. I can't stop it. Run. The mate bond flared between them. Not romance, not desire, just recognition. His wolf calling to hers answering through layers of Omega conditioning and hostile programming and pain Marcus wished he could take from her and carry himself. I'm not running. He held her gaze. I left you behind once. In Kandahar, I gave the order that got 47 soldiers killed and you captured. I've spent 3 years hating myself for that choice. I won't make it again. You want to kill me? You'll have to do it while I'm standing here telling you I'm sorry. While I'm telling you I should have listened. While I'm telling you that you're my mate and I'm not leaving you again no matter what they did to you. Eden's eyes cleared slightly, the gold fading to something almost human. You knew. Always. His throat was tight. From the first day you walked into my unit. The bond told me. But I was your commanding officer. You were my subordinate. I told myself it was inappropriate, told myself it would compromise mission effectiveness, told myself 100 reasons why I couldn't claim you when the real reason was I was terrified of sending my mate into combat and watching her die. So instead you just watched me get captured. Her voice broke. Watched me trade myself for 23 strangers, watched me become the thing I swore to destroy. I watched you save 23 lives because you're the kind of soldier who values other people more than yourself. Marcus took a step closer. She tensed, but didn't attack. I watched you make the choice I should have made. I watched you be braver than I could ever be. And then I spent 3 years trying to find you while everyone told me you were dead." She was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face while her body still held combat stance. "Why didn't you tell me about the bond?" "Because I'm a coward. Simple truth. Because I thought if I kept distance, kept it professional, you'd be safer. But all I did was make you think I didn't care. Make you think you were just another soldier when you were everything." The bond between them was wide open now, 3 years of distance and denial burning away in seconds. Marcus could feel her pain, her rage at what had been done to her, her desperation to stop the programming that demanded she complete her mission, and underneath it all, her love, buried deep, hidden under trauma. But there, still there after 3 years in hell. His wolf howled, "Mate, ours, protect, claim." But claiming wasn't what she needed. She needed choice, agency, the thing Cassius's programming had stolen. "Eden." Marcus kept his voice gentle. "I know you want to fight this. Know you're trying to stop yourself. But you don't have to fight alone anymore. Let me help. Let Garrett help. Let everyone in this palace help. You survived 3 years. You can survive this too." Her hand moved to the knife at her belt. Silver blade, military issue. She pulled it, held it steady, and Marcus saw the exact moment the programming won over willpower. The knife came at his throat faster than thought. Marcus didn't dodge, didn't block, just stood there while his mate moved in for the kill, because if she needed to complete this mission to break the programming, he'd give her that. He'd die if it meant she got free. The blade stopped a centimeter from his skin. Eden's entire body shaking with the effort of fighting compulsion that demanded completion. Her eyes locked on his, gray and gold at war, human and Omega struggling for control. "Why won't you fight back?" Each word was agony. "Because you're worth dying for." Marcus reached up slowly, wrapped his hand around hers on the knife handle, around the scars and the trembling and the strength it took to fight programming that couldn't be fought. "You saved 23 lives in Kandahar. I'll give you mine now if that's what you need." The knife clattered to the floor. Eden staggered back, eyes clearing completely, Omega glow fading to exhausted gray. She looked at her hands like they belonged to a stranger, looked at Marcus like she was trying to remember why killing him felt wrong when everything in her brain screamed it was necessary. Then her eyes rolled back and she collapsed. Marcus caught her before she hit the ground. His mate, his sergeant, his responsibility and his failure and his second chance all at once. Garrett was there instantly. Medical team on the way. What did they do to her? Marcus cradled Eden against his chest, feeling the bond pulse weakly between them, felt her wolf underneath the Omega conditioning, felt her humanity fighting programming that shouldn't exist, made her Omega, weaponized her, programmed her to kill me. He looked at Garrett. "And we have 72 hours before the programming resets and she tries again." "How do you know?" "Because she carved it into the wall." Marcus nodded toward the throne. 3 words in stone. 3 days, then I return." The medical team arrived. Marcus carried Eden himself, wouldn't let anyone else touch her, took her to the royal quarters instead of the medical wing because she was his mate, and she belonged in their rooms, even if she'd never been there before. He laid her on his bed. The mate bond sang with rightness. This was where she belonged, where she should have been 3 years ago if he'd been brave enough to claim her. Catherine Stone appeared in the doorway, one of the 4 Omegas Marcus had kept in cryo, the one Garrett had begged him to wake 6 months ago after learning his mother was still alive, preserved, one of his father's victims. Marcus had agreed. Catherine had woken, had looked at her son who'd aged 30 years while she slept, had looked at Marcus and said, "You're not your father," then had chosen to stay, to help, to use her knowledge of Omega biology to prepare for the day when Cassius inevitably weaponized his research. That day had come. Catherine moved to Eden's side, placed her hand on Eden's forehead, closed her eyes. Omega to Omega connection. The kind Marcus couldn't access even through mate bond. When she opened her eyes, they were grim. She's Omega class, full conversion. But the programming is adaptive, self-reinforcing. Every time she resists, it gets stronger. Eventually, it will override her will completely. She'll become weapon without choice. How long? Marcus kept his voice level. Days, maybe a week, then she'll be lost. Catherine met his eyes. Unless we break the programming first. How? I need to examine her, run tests, map the Omega pathways Cassius created, find the command structure. Catherine pulled medical scanner from her bag. And I need to wake the other 3 Omegas in cryo. If anyone knows how Cassius thinks, it's them. They were his test subjects before he perfected the process on captured soldiers. Wake them! Marcus gave the order without hesitation. Whatever you need, whatever resources. We have 3 days to save my mate. After that, she comes back to finish what she started, and I won't be able to stop her without killing her. You could reject the mate bond, sever the connection. It would hurt less when she died. Marcus looked at Eden sleeping fitfully, at the scars on her face, at the Omega glow that pulsed weakly, even unconscious. No. You'd rather die than reject her. I'd rather burn this entire kingdom to the ground than give up on her. Marcus straightened. She survived 3 years of torture. She made it back to me. We're not losing her now because we didn't try hard enough. Catherine almost smiled. Your father would have executed her the moment she attacked you. Called it necessary. Called it protecting the kingdom. My father was wrong about everything that mattered. Marcus headed for the door. I'll be in the sublevels, waking the other Omegas. You stay with Eden. If she wakes up, if the programming triggers, sedate her, but keep her alive. And if I can't, then I'll claim the mate bond fully. Force a connection strong enough that she can't attack me without attacking herself. Risk the Omega programming jumping the bond and affecting me too, whatever it takes. That could kill you both. Marcus paused at the threshold. Then we die together instead of her dying alone. Either way, she's not facing this without me. The sub-level facility smelled like preservation chemicals and his father's sins. 3 cryopods still active. 3 Omegas Marcus had kept frozen because waking them seemed crueler than letting them sleep. He'd been wrong. They deserved the choice. Garrett stood beside him. You sure about this? Waking more Omegas? Council's going to lose their minds. Council can adapt. Marcus input wake sequence on the first pod. We need every advantage we can get. If these Omegas know how Cassius's programming works, know how to break it, it's worth the political cost. And if they can't break it? If we just have 4 Omegas and no solution? Then we find another way. Marcus watched the pod cycle through revival. But I'm not watching my mate die because I was too afraid to try everything. The first Omega who woke was male, mid-40s when he'd been preserved, eyes gold and confused and angry all at once. He sat up slowly, looked at Marcus, recognized the family resemblance immediately. You're Thornfield's son. His voice was rough. Come to finish what your father started? I came to ask for help. Marcus met his gaze without flinching. My mate is Omega, weaponized by Cassius Thornfield. I have 3 days to break the programming or lose her. I need your knowledge, your experience. Whatever you can tell me about how the conversion works. The Omega studied him for a long moment. Why should I help you? Your father tortured me for 15 years, studied me like lab rat. Your family destroyed everything I was, because my mate didn't destroy anything. She's soldier who volunteered to save strangers, who spent 3 years suffering for a choice that makes her hero. And if you help her, you get revenge on Cassius. You get to prove his research can be undone. You get to save someone instead of being victim. The Omega was quiet. Then finally, what's her name? Eden Cross. Sergeant. Combat medic, best operator I ever trained. Marcus's throat was tight. My mate. The woman I should have claimed 3 years ago, but I was too scared to admit I loved her. The Omega almost smiled. At least you're honest about being coward. That's more than your father ever was. Fine, I'll help. But not for you. For her. For the woman who survived what I survived. Thank you. Marcus moved to the second pod. What's your name? Daniel Stone. And that one. He nodded at the third pod. That's my sister. Margaret. We were Cassius's first successes, before he perfected the process, before he learned how to make the programming stick. We know his work better than anyone. Then help me save her. They woke the other 2. Margaret Stone. And an elderly Omega woman named Claire, who looked at Marcus with eyes that held lifetimes of pain. Within an hour, all 4 Omegas were in the medical lab with Catherine, examining Eden's scans, mapping the Omega pathways, arguing about command structures and neural programming and biological compulsion. Marcus stood at the door watching his mate sleep while 5 Omegas tried to save her. Garrett beside him. Council's calling emergency session. Garrett's voice was quiet. They know Eden attacked you. Know you're harboring Omega weapon. Werner's pushing for immediate execution. Claims she's too dangerous to live. Werner can try to execute my mate and see what happens. Marcus didn't take his eyes off Eden. I'm Alpha King. My word is law. and the law is she gets every chance to survive. They'll invoke Article 7, vote of no confidence if you refuse to follow kingdom security protocols. Then they vote, and I ignore them. Marcus finally looked at Garrett. I've spent 3 years being the king they wanted, making decisions based on political considerations instead of moral certainty, playing the game, following protocols. I'm done. Eden is my mate. I'm saving her. And anyone who tries to stop me can challenge me directly. You'd fight the council, fight your own kingdom, for one soldier. For my mate, Marcus corrected. Yes, I'd burn everything down, start a civil war, become the tyrant they're afraid of, whatever it takes. Because she came back to me when everyone said she was dead. Because she fought programming for 3 days just to warn me before she had to try again. Because she's worth more than this crown or this kingdom or anything else I'm supposed to value more than her. Garrett was quiet for a moment, then quietly. Good. Because I'd follow you into that war. So would half the military. The soldiers who remember what Eden did at Kandahar, who know she bought them time to escape. They're not letting anyone execute her while we can still save her. Marcus felt something in his chest loosen. Thank you. You don't thank brothers. Garrett's smile was slight. You just make sure when the shooting starts, we're on the right side. The council chamber 3 hours later was exactly the political nightmare Marcus expected. 7 council members, 20 witnesses, royal guards whose loyalty was divided between crown and council. Werner stood at the center, voice carrying the righteous indignation of someone who'd never made a hard decision in his life. Alpha King Marcus Thornfield, you stand accused of harboring enemy combatant, refusing to execute Omega weapon, endangering kingdom security by reactivating Project Nightfall. How do you plead? Guilty. Marcus kept his voice level and irrelevant. The chamber erupted, shouting, accusations, Werner calling for immediate removal from throne. Marcus let them shout, let them rage, let them feel like they had control. Then he released just enough Alpha command to quiet the room, the kind of power that made wolves remember why Alphas led and others followed. I'm guilty of refusing to execute my mate, guilty of trying to save a soldier who volunteered to be tortured so others could live. Guilty of believing that the kingdom can survive having a few more Omegas in it when my father kept 12 for decades and nobody died from it. He looked at each council member, made eye contact, made sure they understood. What I'm not guilty of is being wrong. Eden Cross is my mate, chosen by the moon goddess. That bond is older than this kingdom, older than your laws, older than your fear, and I will not reject it because you're too scared to remember that Omegas are people, not weapons. The law is clear. Werner's face was red. No Omegas, no exceptions. Your father understood that their power makes them too dangerous to coexist with normal wolves. My father was a monster who tortured innocent people for 15 years. Marcus's voice was cold. He used Omegas as lab rats, studied them like they were animals instead of wolves with families and lives and rights. And when I inherited his sins, I tried to undo them, released 8 Omegas, tried to make amends for his cruelty. If that makes me weak, then I'm weak. But I won't be him. Councilman Drake stood, former military, someone who understood that rules looked different in combat. I move that Eden Cross be given medical treatment, that the Alpha King be allowed to save his mate without political interference, that we trust our king to make the right call instead of second-guessing every decision. Werner whirled on him. You'd let Omega Weapon live in Palace? Risk every citizen? I'd trust the Alpha King to protect his mate and his kingdom both. Drake met Marcus's eyes. I'd remember that sometimes the right decision isn't the easy one. The vote was 4-3, narrow margin, but Marcus would take it. Eden got medical treatment, got 3 days to break programming or find solution, got the protection of her mate and her king and the soldiers who remembered her sacrifice. 3 days, 72 hours, 4,320 minutes. Eden had bought them 8 minutes once. Marcus would give her every second he had. They'd save her or they'd die trying, but she wouldn't face this alone. Not again, never again. The mate bond pulsed between them, weak but there, alive. And where there was life, there was hope. Marcus returned to his quarters to find Eden awake, sitting up in bed, eyes still Omega gold but clear, aware, human underneath the weapon. You came back! Her voice was hoarse. Always. Marcus sat beside her carefully. How are you feeling? Like I'm being torn apart from the inside, like there's something in my head demanding I kill you and something else screaming to stop. Like I've been fighting a war for 3 days and I'm losing." She looked at her hands. "What did they do to me, Marcus?" "Made you Omega." He took her hands, careful of the scars, gave you power that shouldn't exist, programmed you to target me specifically, but you're fighting it, and we're going to help you win. What if I can't? What if the programming is stronger than me? Then we find another way. He met her eyes. "But I'm not giving up on you. Not after you came back to me. Not after 3 years of thinking I'd lost you forever." She was crying again. "You should have let me complete the mission. Should have let me kill you. Then at least the programming would stop. And then I'd be dead and you'd still be weapon." Hard pass. Marcus pulled her closer, carefully, watching for signs the programming would trigger. "We're trying something else, something that might work." "What?" "The mate bond. If I claim you fully, mark you, complete the bond, it might override Cassius's programming, might give you anchor strong enough to fight the compulsion. Or it might kill us both." Eden understood immediately. Omega programming jumping the mate bond, affecting you too. "Maybe, probably, I don't care." "You should care. I'm not worth dying for." "You are to me." Marcus's voice was rough. "You're worth everything. And I'm sorry it took me 3 years to tell you. Sorry I was too scared to claim you when I should have. Sorry I let you think you were just another soldier when you were always my mate." Eden looked at him for a long moment, then leaned forward, pressed her forehead to his. The bond flared between them. Recognition, acceptance, 3 years of denial burning away. 3 days, she whispered. "If Catherine can't break the programming in 3 days, you claim me, you mark me, and we live or die together. No more watching each other suffer, no more distance. We face this together." "Together," Marcus agreed. "And if it went wrong, if they both died, at least they'd die as mates instead of strangers pretending they didn't love each other. At least they'd die honest." The bond pulsed, weak but growing stronger. 3 days to save his mate. 3 days to prove love was stronger than programming. 3 days to show Cassius that turning Eden into weapon hadn't broken her. It had just made Marcus more determined to help her fight. Outside the window, dawn was breaking, first light after the longest night, and Marcus stood watch over his mate while 5 Omegas worked to save her, while Garrett organized loyal soldiers, while the kingdom held its breath and waited to see if their Alpha King would choose duty or love. He'd already chosen. Now he just had to prove that choosing love didn't mean abandoning duty, that saving his mate would save the kingdom too, that sometimes the bravest thing wasn't following protocol, it was breaking it for the right reasons. 3 days until Eden tried again. 3 days to find solution. 3 days to show the world that Omegas weren't weapons. They were people, and people deserved to be saved. The transport lifted off at 2100 hours under cover of darkness. Marcus sat in the cargo bay surrounded by 12 soldiers, every one of them a Kandahar survivor, every one of them owing Eden Cross their lives. They'd voted unanimously to come. When Marcus had put out the call for volunteers, 60 had shown up. He'd chosen 12 because of the symbolism. 12 Omegas his father had imprisoned. 12 soldiers to rescue the woman who'd saved them. Balance, redemption, mathematics written in blood. Catherine sat across from him reviewing medical equipment. Beside her, the 3 newly awakened Omegas, Daniel Stone, Margaret Stone, Claire. 4 Omegas total going into hostile territory to save a 5th. His father would have called it suicide. Marcus called it necessary. Garrett checked weapons for the 3rd time. Ritual. The kind that kept hands busy while mind processed mission parameters that violated every tactical doctrine. "Your Majesty." Daniel Stone spoke carefully, former victim addressing former jailer's son. "We've been reviewing the compound intelligence. Cassius has 47 prisoners, not 23. Marcus felt the number hit like a fist. Always 47, always the exact count from Kandahar. Cassius was making him relive his failure in real time. He lied. Garrett stated flat fact. Made us think small operation. We're walking into something bigger. We adapt." Marcus kept his voice steady, used the same words Eden had taught him 8 years ago when a mission went sideways in Ramadi. "We overcome. We bring everyone home, including your mate." Catherine looked up from her scanner. "I'm reading her signature. She's at the compound, moving toward the northern perimeter. The programming is driving her there." "To kill Cassius?" Garrett asked. "To protect him." Margaret's voice was bitter. "She's the first successful conversion." The prototype. Cassius won't risk her in the initial assault. He'll keep her close. Use her as last line of defense if we breach the facility. Then we breach fast and extract before she engages. Marcus stood as the pilot announced 2 minutes to drop zone. We have 3 objectives. 1. Extract all prisoners. 2. Stop Cassius. 3. Bring Eden home. In that order. Sir. One of the young soldiers raised his hand. If we have to choose between extracting Eden and saving the other prisoners, what's the call? Marcus met his eyes. We don't choose. We save everyone. That's not optimism. That's orders. The jump was clean. They landed in snow 2 clicks from the compound, regrouped in silence, moved in tactical formation toward the facility that held his mate and Cassius's research and the future of every Omega who'd ever been weaponized. The bond pulled him forward, steady compass pointing toward Eden. She was inside, 3rd floor, northwest corner. He could feel her awareness through the connection, feel her fighting the programming even as it dragged her toward her position. She knew he was coming, was trying to warn him off. The bond carried emotions she couldn't voice. Fear, desperation. Love mixed with the certainty that she'd kill him if he got close enough. I'm coming anyway. He sent the thought through the bond. Didn't know if she'd receive it. Didn't care. We're ending this tonight. The compound's outer perimeter was unguarded. Too easy. Garrett's hand signals confirmed Marcus's assessment. Trap. They want us inside. No choice. They proceeded. They found the first prisoner in a lab on sub-level 2, military uniform, captain's insignia, strapped to a table surrounded by machinery that hummed with Cassius's particular brand of scientific cruelty. Catherine checked vitals, scanned for Omega signature. He's still human, barely. Another 6 hours and the conversion completes. She looked at Marcus. We need to move faster. They found 8 more prisoners on the same level. All the same. Unconscious. Converted, but not yet lost. Soldiers began extracting them 2 at a time, while Marcus and Garrett pushed deeper into the facility. Sub-level 3 held 20 prisoners. Sub-level 4 held 19 more. All military, all captured in recent border skirmishes. All being processed into Omega soldiers for an army Cassius was building. But it was sub-level 5 that made Marcus's blood freeze. The cryopods. Not empty, not deactivated, active and occupied. 20 more prisoners. Preserved. Waiting. The same way his father had preserved Omegas. The same way Marcus had inherited that sin. Cassius hadn't just taken his father's research. He'd adopted his methods. This is wrong. Daniel Stone stood in front of the cryopods, his expression haunted. This is exactly what your father did to us. Cassius learned nothing. He's just repeating history. Or perfecting it. Claire moved to one of the pods, read the display. These prisoners have been here for months. He's been running this program longer than we thought, perfecting the conversion process on captured soldiers before moving to the next phase. Next phase? Garrett demanded. Margaret pulled up a computer terminal, accessed Cassius's research notes. He's not building an army for the enemy kingdom. He's building it for himself. Plans to offer Omega soldiers as mercenaries to the highest bidder. 50 Omegas, fully trained, completely loyal to Cassius's command. He's not starting a war. He's starting a business. Marcus felt sick. All of this. The torture, the conversion, the prisoners. It wasn't about ideology or kingdom security or even revenge. It was about power and profit, about turning people into products. We're extracting all of them. Marcus gave the order. Every prisoner, every cryopod. We empty this facility and burn it to the ground. That's 87 people. Garrett did the math. We have 12 soldiers and 4 Omegas. The transport can't carry that many in one trip. Then we call for backup. Marcus was already on comms, reaching out to the palace, to Drake on the council who'd supported him, to the military units loyal to their Alpha King more than political protocol. We hold this position, we extract in waves, and we make sure Cassius doesn't activate any fail-safes that would kill the prisoners to protect his research. Movement on the upper levels. Catherine's scanner was tracking Omega signatures. Eden, she's moving toward us. The programming is forcing engagement. Marcus felt the bond flare, felt Eden fighting every step, felt her desperation to stop herself and her inability to override the compulsion that demanded she protect Cassius by killing the threat. The threat was him. I'm going to her. Marcus handed tactical command to Garrett. You coordinate extraction. I'm ending this with Cassius and bringing my mate home. You'll have to fight her. Garrett's voice was careful. I'll have to save her, Marcus corrected. There's a difference. He took the stairs up instead of waiting for elevator. 5 floors, legs burning by the 3rd. Didn't care. The bond was pulling him forward, leading him toward the woman who was coming to kill him and couldn't stop herself. They met on sublevel 1. Empty corridor. Emergency lighting painting everything red. Eden standing at one end in full combat gear, eyes glowing omega gold, body rigid with the effort of fighting programming. Marcus stood at the other end, no weapon drawn, no defensive stance, just open hands and the mate bond singing between them. Eden. He kept his voice gentle. I'm here. We're getting everyone out. All the prisoners, Cassius's research, everything. It's over. She moved toward him. Mechanical, compelled, every step fighting itself. You need to leave. Her voice was strained. I can't stop it anymore. The programming is too strong. If you stay, I will kill you. Then I stay. Marcus didn't move. Because I'd rather die by your hand than live knowing I abandoned you again. This isn't abandonment. This is survival. Tears streaming down her face while her body kept advancing. Please, Marcus, please run. The bond between them was agony. He could feel her love, her terror, her absolute certainty that she was about to kill the person she'd spent 8 years caring for. Could feel the programming overriding her will despite every ounce of strength she used to fight it. Number. He sent the thought through the bond, sent it with every ounce of alpha command he possessed, not to control her, to anchor her. You are Eden Cross, Sergeant, combat medic, my mate. You volunteered to save 23 strangers, survived 3 years of torture, made it back to me. The programming doesn't own you. I'm calling in the mate bond, giving you permission to use it, to draw on my strength when yours runs out. She stopped walking, body shaking, eyes flickering between gold and gray. Catherine's voice came through comms. Marcus, I've mapped the programming, found the command structure, but breaking it requires proximity, requires an Omega who knows Cassius's work interfacing directly with Eden while the bond anchors her. It's dangerous, could kill her if it goes wrong, or save her if it goes right. Marcus kept his eyes on Eden. We're trying it. Now? Catherine sounded shocked. In the middle of hostile facility with prisoners to extract? Now. Because Eden doesn't have 3 more days. She doesn't have 3 more hours. The programming is winning, and if we don't break it here, we lose her. He took a step forward. Eden tensed but didn't attack. Another step, another, until he was close enough to touch her. I'm going to put my hand on your face. He spoke quietly. Going to open the mate bond completely. Going to let you feel everything I've felt for 8 years. The fear, the love, the absolute certainty that you're mine and I'm yours, and nothing Cassius did to you changes that. Eden's hand moved to her weapon, drew the silver knife, held it steady, even as she sobbed. I won't be able to stop myself. You won't have to. Marcus reached up slowly, placed his hand on her cheek. The bond exploded between them. Not just recognition anymore, full connection, alpha to omega, mate to mate. Every barrier they'd built for 8 years of denying what they were to each other, burning away in seconds. He felt her gasp. Felt the exact moment she felt the depth of what he'd been hiding, the love that had kept him awake at night, the terror every time she went into combat, the guilt when Kandahar went wrong, the grief when he thought she'd died, the desperate hope when the bond told him she was alive. And underneath it all, the absolute unshakable truth. She was his. He was hers. The moon goddess didn't make mistakes. The programming fractured, just slightly. Just enough that Eden's hand trembled and the knife wavered. Catherine appeared from the stairwell with Daniel and Margaret, all 3 Omegas moving in concert. They surrounded Eden, placed their hands on her shoulders, her back, her arms. Omega power connecting, building network that could interface with Cassius's programming. Eden screamed, the sound of someone being torn apart from the inside. The knife fell from her hand. She collapsed and Marcus caught her, held her while 3 Omegas fought a battle in her mind that he couldn't see but could feel through the bond. It hurt. Whatever they were doing hurt her worse than anything physical. He could feel neurons firing wrong, feel Omega pathways being rewritten, feel 3 years of conditioning being unmade one excruciating second at a time. Stay with me. He sent the thought through the bond, held her while she shook, while she screamed, while she fought a war inside her own head. I've got you. I'm here. You're not alone. The bond was their anchor. The connection that Cassius hadn't programmed, hadn't accounted for. The thing that made Eden more than weapon, made her mate, made her someone fighting to return home instead of complete mission. Catherine's voice was strained. It's working. The programming is breaking. But there's a failsafe. If we push too hard, if we break it completely, her mind could break with it. She needs something to replace the programming, some other purpose, some other drive. The mate bond. Marcus understood immediately. The claim, it has to be completed now. In the middle of hostile facility? Catherine's shock carried through her voice. In the middle of her breaking free. Marcus looked at Eden, at gray eyes clearing from Omega Gold, at his mate fighting her way back to him with her permission only. Eden, can you hear me? She nodded, barely, voice too raw to speak. I need to mark you, complete the mate bond, give you anchor that Cassius can't touch, but only if you want it, only if you choose me. You get to decide. No pressure, no obligation, just choice. Eden's hand found his, squeezed weakly. Do it. You're sure? Because once I do this, you're mine and I'm yours. Permanently. No taking it back. Her voice was hoarse but clear. I've been yours for 8 years. Just took 3 years in hell to stop being afraid to say it. Claim me, Alpha King. Make me your mate. Make me Luna. Make Cassius's programming irrelevant by giving me something stronger to hold on to. Marcus pulled her closer, tilted her head to expose her throat. The traditional marking spot where Alpha claimed Omega, where mate bonds became permanent, where two wolves became one. This will hurt. Everything hurts. Her smile was broken. But this hurt is mine. My choice. Do it. He bit down, clean, precise, felt his venom mix with her blood, felt the mate bond snap into place with finality that made the universe realign. Eden gasped, back arching, but not from pain, from completion, from the bond flooding her system with connections stronger than any programming, from feeling him, feeling her, feeling them becoming us. The Omega conditioning shattered, completely. Cassius's programming breaking under the weight of a mate bond that said mine louder than any command could say, kill. Eden's eyes cleared, fully. No more gold, just gray, human, his mate, free, Marcus. She breathed his name like prayer, like curse, like promise. I'm back. You're back. He held her while Catherine and the other Omegas stepped away, while the bond settled into something permanent and perfect and theirs. Welcome home, Luna. The title fit. Luna, not just mate, Alpha King's mate, queen of the kingdom, the woman who'd be his partner in all things. But first they had to survive the next hour. Garrett's voice crackled through comms. We have a problem. Cassius activated the facility's self-destruct. 20 minutes until detonation, and we still have 60 prisoners to extract. Marcus helped Eden to her feet, steadied her while she found her balance. We have an Alpha King, a new Luna, and 4 Omegas. If that's not enough to evacuate 60 people in 20 minutes, we're not trying hard enough. Eden looked at him, at the man who'd been her commander, her king, her mate, at the person who'd just given her freedom by claiming her. What do you need me to do? What you've always done. He handed her a weapon. Save lives, lead, show everyone why my mate is the strongest person I've ever known. They moved as unit, Marcus and Eden at the point, Garrett and the 12 soldiers carrying prisoners, Catherine and the Omegas using their power to stabilize the converted before they could fully lose their humanity. The facility was collapsing around them. Cassius had designed the self-destruct well, systematic, complete. 20 minutes would leave nothing but crater. They made it to sub-level 3 with 15 minutes remaining, sub-level 2 with 12 minutes, ground level with 8 minutes. The transport was there. Medical teams from the palace had arrived. Drake had sent 3 additional aircraft, soldiers loading prisoners in organized chaos while medics triaged the worst cases. Garrett did head count, everyone accounted for except one. Where's Cassius? Control room. Claire pointed to the central tower. He won't leave his research. He's prepared to die with it rather than let us take him alive. Then we take him alive anyway. Marcus headed for the tower, Eden beside him. I'm not letting him martyr himself. He faces trial, faces the people he hurt, answers for what he did. They found Cassius in the control room surrounded by monitors showing empty labs and cryopods and research stations. All his work, all his subjects, gone. Freed by the nephew he'd called coward, saved by the Omega he'd weaponized. Cousin, Cassius didn't turn around. Come to execute me? Come to arrest you. Marcus kept his voice level. You'll stand trial, face justice. Make amends if that's possible. Amends for what? Giving Omegas power? Giving them choice? I freed them, Marcus. All of them. Eden included. She's no longer victim. She's Luna. Tell me that's not better than being afraid her whole life. You tortured her for 3 years. Eden's voice was cold. Broke my mind. Made me weapon. That's not freedom. That's just different cage. But you broke free. Cassius finally turned, looked at Eden with something like pride. You fought the programming, claimed your mate, became Luna. Would you have done that if I hadn't given you the push? I survived in spite of you, not because of you. Eden moved to Marcus's side, and now you answer for every person you hurt, every prisoner you converted, every Omega you believed you were freeing by torturing them first. The facility shook. 5 minutes until detonation. Structural supports giving way. We need to leave. Marcus pulled restraints from his belt. Now. Cassius didn't resist, just held out his wrists. Let Marcus bind them. Let Eden lead him toward the exit, while the compound collapsed around them. They made it to the transport with 90 seconds remaining, lifted off with 30 seconds. The facility detonated below them, massive fireball that consumed Cassius's research and methods and the place where Eden had nearly lost her humanity. They flew through this darkness toward the palace, 87 prisoners secured, 1 war criminal restrained, 2 mates finally claimed, 4 Omegas proven valuable instead of dangerous. Victory, messy, complicated, but victory nonetheless. Eden sat beside Marcus, his arm around her shoulders, her head on his chest, the mate bond humming contentedly between them. They'd survived, together. Garrett appeared with medical report. Catherine says all 87 prisoners will survive. Full recovery possible with time and treatment. They'll never be purely human again, but they'll be functional, whole, more than we hoped for. Good. Marcus closed his eyes, exhausted, relieved, still processing that his mate was alive, free, his. What's the council situation? Drake sent the backup. Werner tried to block it, got outvoted 6-1. Catherine's written preliminary report recommending Omega integration program, rewriting laws that made them illegal. Council's going to hate it. But they'll have to accept it with 87 living examples of why Omegas deserve rights. Eden stirred against his chest. I have to testify. At Cassius's trial. Tell my story. Make sure everyone understands what he did wasn't salvation. It was torture with good intentions. You will. Marcus kissed her hair. We both will. But first you recover. Rest. Let the bond settle. Get used to being Luna before you have to be anything else. Luna. Eden tested the word, smiled slightly. Never thought I'd be queen. You've been my queen since the day you joined my unit. Just took me 8 years to admit it, and 3 years of hell to stop being coward about claiming you. The transport landed at dawn. Medical teams received the prisoners. Guards took Cassius to cells below. Council waited for immediate debrief. Marcus and Eden walked through the palace together. Alpha King and his newly claimed Luna. Mates who'd survived torture, programming, 3 years of separation, and their own fear of vulnerability. They had work ahead. Cassius's trial, prisoner recovery, council debates about Omega rights, the political nightmare of explaining why their king had marked an Omega Luna without approval. But first they had each other. Had the mate bond that proved love was stronger than programming, had proof that Omegas weren't weapons, just people who deserved the same rights as everyone else. Marcus led Eden to their quarters. Not his quarters anymore. Theirs, where she belonged. Where she'd always belonged. Sleep, he told her gently. I'll handle the council, handle the politics, handle everything else. You rest, heal, let the mark settle. Stay with me. Her voice was small, vulnerable in ways she rarely allowed. Don't leave me alone yet. Never. He pulled her close, settled them both on the bed, let the bond wrap around them like armor. I'm not leaving. Not for council, not for kingdom. You're my mate, my Luna, my priority. Everything else can wait. Eden fell asleep in his arms, exhausted, safe, home. The mate bond pulsed contentedly between them, and Marcus held watch over his Luna while the palace woke around them, while 87 prisoners began their long recovery, while Cassius faced the consequences of believing torture could create freedom. 3 years of separation, 8 years of denial, hours of fighting. But in the end, the mate bond won. Love won. The Alpha King and his Omega Luna proved that sometimes the bravest thing wasn't following protocol. It was breaking it for the right reasons. And claiming your mate even when the kingdom said it was impossible. Marcus closed his eyes. Let himself rest for the first time in 3 years. Let himself believe that maybe they'd survived the worst, that maybe now they could start building something better, together. The council chamber at dawn looked exactly like what it was, a battleground disguised as politics. 7 council members in their high-backed chairs, Marcus standing in the center with Eden beside him, both marked, both mated, both prepared to fight for the future they'd just claimed. Werner spoke first, voice carrying practiced outrage. You marked an Omega without council approval, without proper ceremony, without consideration for kingdom law or tradition. This is grounds for removal from the throne. I marked my mate. Marcus kept his voice level, used just enough alpha command to remind everyone why he was king, and they weren't. The moon goddess chose her for me 8 years ago. I chose her back 3 days ago. The council doesn't get a vote on bonds ordained by higher power than politics. The law clearly states, Werner started, the law was written by people who feared Omegas instead of understanding them. Marcus interrupted. My father wrote those laws. My father who tortured 12 Omegas for 15 years, who experimented on people like they were animals. I won't enforce laws built on cruelty and fear. Councilman Drake stood, supporting Marcus as he'd done from the start. I move that we recognize Eden Cross as Luna, that we acknowledge the mate bond, that we stop pretending our king needs permission to claim what the moon goddess gave him. She's Omega. Werner's voice rose. Her power could influence the entire kingdom, could make us all puppets to her will. That's exactly why the law exists. Catherine Stone stepped forward from where she'd been standing with the other Omegas. Former victim, current advisor. The woman Marcus was elevating to council position because she understood both power and restraint. If I may address the council, I'm Omega. I've been free for 2 months, working in the palace, treating prisoners, interacting with hundreds of wolves. Not one has been influenced without consent. Not one has become puppet, because that's not how Omega power works unless we're weaponized the way Cassius tried to make us. You're saying Omegas are safe. Werner's tone made it clear he didn't believe it. I'm saying Omegas are people. Catherine's voice was firm. We have power. So do Alphas. So do every classification. The question isn't whether power exists. It's whether we choose to use it for harm or help. Eden Cross chose help, spent 3 years surviving torture, fought programming that should have made her weapon, came back to save 87 prisoners instead of completing her mission to kill the Alpha King. That's not dangerous, that's heroic. Heroic or not, she's still Omega. Werner wasn't giving up, still carries power that makes her threat to stability. Then I'm a threat too. Daniel Stone moved forward, Margaret and Claire beside him. We're all Omega, all free, all living in this palace, all proving every day that your fear is outdated, that we can coexist, that the laws need to change. The council chamber was silent. 7 council members looking at 4 Omegas and 1 Luna, looking at proof that everything they'd believed about Omega danger was wrong. Drake spoke into the silence. I move that we recognize Eden Cross as Luna, that we grant full legal rights to all Omegas currently in kingdom custody, that we establish rehabilitation program for the 87 converted prisoners, that we stop treating Omegas like weapons and start treating them like citizens. The vote took 3 hours. Debate, argument, Marcus presenting evidence from Catherine's research, Eden telling her story, raw, honest, the kind of testimony that made grown wolves look away because the truth hurt to hear. In the end, progress won, 5-2, not unanimous, but majority. Eden Cross was recognized as Luna. The 87 prisoners got medical treatment and legal protection. Omegas got rights, not full citizenship yet, not complete equality, but foundation, starting point. Proof that change was possible even when change was hard. Werner and 1 ally voted against, called it mistake, called it weakness, promised political resistance. Marcus let them. Democracy meant dissent. He'd take dissent over tyranny any day. The formal marking ceremony was scheduled for 1 week later. Give Eden time to recover. Give the kingdom time to adjust. Give everyone time to pretend this wasn't already done the moment Marcus had bitten her in that collapsing facility. But traditions mattered. Ceremony mattered. Showing the kingdom their Luna deserved recognition and respect and celebration instead of being claimed in dark corridor while fighting for her life. The week passed in preparation. Eden working with Catherine to establish protocols for Omega rights. Marcus working with Drake to draft new legislation. Garrett organizing palace security because somebody had to make sure Werner didn't try something stupid. Cassius's trial was scheduled for 1 month out. Give prosecutors time to build their case. Give victims time to decide if they wanted to testify. Give the kingdom time to understand what had happened and why it mattered. Cassius sat in his cell writing research notes that would help the people he'd hurt, making amends the only way he knew how, with science instead of apology, with knowledge instead of emotion. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something. The night before the ceremony, Marcus found Eden in the training yard. She was running through combat drills, muscle memory, and therapeutic violence, the kind of exercise that helped soldiers process trauma by giving their bodies something to do while their minds caught up. Can't sleep? He watched her move through forms she'd learned years ago, before Kandahar, before Omega conversion, before everything got complicated. Too many thoughts. She finished the sequence, turned to face him. Tomorrow I become Luna officially, in front of entire kingdom, in front of people who still think Omegas are dangerous, in front of a world that isn't ready for me. Good. Marcus moved into the training circle with her, because you're going to show them what a combat Luna looks like, what an Omega Luna looks like, what a Luna who survived hell and came back stronger looks like. You're not going to be traditional Luna who sits in throne room looking decorative. You're going to be Luna who leads, who fights, who changes everything just by existing. That's a lot of pressure. You've handled worse. 3 years of torture, programming that should have broken you, walking into a facility to warn me before you had to try to kill me again. Tomorrow is just ceremony. You've already proven you're worthy. Now we just make it official. Eden was quiet for a moment, then quietly. What if I'm not ready? What if I fail at being Luna the way I failed at being normal? You didn't fail at being normal. You survived being extraordinary. Marcus pulled her close. Let the mate bond settle between them. Comfort and connection. And you won't fail at being Luna because there's no one right way to do it. You'll find your own way. Same way you've done everything else. By being brave when everyone expects you to be broken. The marking ceremony took place in the great hall before the entire court. Hundreds of wolves, nobles and soldiers and citizens who'd come to witness history. The first Omega Luna in 3 centuries. The Alpha King's mate who'd been enemy weapon 3 days ago and was now going to be their queen. Eden wore formal dress, silver silk that matched her eyes, hair loose around her shoulders, the mark on her neck visible, proud, claim and choice both displayed for everyone to see. Marcus wore his crown and formal robes and the expression that made people remember he was Alpha King before he was politician. Power and certainty. The look that said, challenge this and see what happens. The ceremony was traditional, Elder Helena presiding because she'd been officiating royal bonds since Marcus's grandfather. Witnesses from every major family, guards lining the walls, every word spoken in ancient language that predated kingdoms. Do you, Marcus Thornfield, Alpha King of this realm, claim this woman as your mate, as your Luna, as your equal in all things? I do. Marcus's voice carried through the hall. I claim Eden Cross, Sergeant, Combat Medic, Survivor, the woman who bought me 3 years to fail her and still came back. I claim her as mate, as Luna, as the person who makes me better just by existing. Do you, Eden Cross, accept this claim? Accept this bond? Accept the responsibility of being Luna to this kingdom? Eden's voice was steady. I do. I accept Marcus Thornfield, Alpha King, the commander who failed me and spent 3 years trying to make it right. I accept the mate bond. Accept the responsibility of being Luna. Accept that I'll probably do it differently than anyone expects, and that's okay. Quiet laughter rippled through the crowd. Good. They needed to see their Luna had personality, had strength. Wasn't going to be puppet or decoration or traditional anything. Helena smiled slightly. Then by the power vested in me by Moon Goddess and Kingdom Law, I recognize this bond. I proclaim Eden Cross as Luna. May her rule be just. May her strength guide us. May her survival inspire us all. The hall erupted in howls, traditional, celebratory, the sound of pack accepting new member, new leader, new future. Not everyone howled. Werner and his allies stood silent, making their dissent known. Marcus let them. They'd come around or they wouldn't. Either way, Eden was Luna now. That wasn't changing. The reception afterward was political theater Marcus had never enjoyed. Nobles congratulating him, soldiers offering respect to Eden, everyone trying to assess the new power dynamic and figure out where they fit. Eden handled it better than Marcus expected. Gracious, but not soft. Friendly, but not weak. The perfect balance of approachable Luna and dangerous Omega. The kind of leader people would follow because they wanted to, not because they were forced to. Garrett appeared with Catherine, both smiling. "Your Luna is terrifying the nobility." Garrett's approval was obvious. They don't know whether to curtsy or run. Good. Marcus watched Eden talking to a group of military officers, laughing at something one of them said, making them comfortable despite her new rank. That's exactly the energy we need. Someone who remembers what it's like to be soldier, who won't let power change who she is. Catherine touched his arm gently. "You did well, choosing her, fighting for her, showing the kingdom that Omegas aren't threats. Your father would have never done this. My father would have executed her the moment she attacked me." Marcus kept his voice low. "Would have called it necessary. Would have slept fine that night. I'm not my father. And I'm going to spend every day proving that his way was wrong." "You already have." Catherine's smile was warm. "Every Omega in this kingdom knows it. Every prisoner you saved knows it. Eden knows it. That's what matters." The celebration lasted until midnight. Then Marcus and Eden retreated to their quarters, officially shared now, not his rooms or her rooms, theirs. The place where Alpha King and Omega Luna could stop being public figures and just be mates. "How do you feel?" Marcus asked as they settled onto the couch. Away from crowds and politics and expectations. "Exhausted. Relieved. Terrified I'm going to wake up tomorrow and have no idea how to be Luna." Eden leaned against him. Let the mate bond wrap around them. Comfortable, secure, but also proud. "I survived 3 years of torture, survived Cassius's programming, became Luna. That's not nothing. That's everything." Marcus pulled her closer. "You're going to be amazing at this. You're going to change things, make the kingdom better, show everyone what Omegas can do when they're given chance instead of chains. And you'll be there? When I inevitably make mistakes? When I do something that pisses off the council? When I'm more combat Luna than traditional Luna and people complain? Always. I'm your mate, your alpha, your partner. We face everything together. Same way we faced Cassius, same way we'll face whatever comes next." They sat in silence for a while, just existing, just being mates without having to be King and Luna for a few hours. Eden spoke first. "Cassius's trial starts next month. I'm testifying, going to tell everyone what he did, what it felt like, what it took to survive. You don't have to. Marcus would support whatever she chose. You've already proven enough. I need to. For me. For the other prisoners. For every Omega who's ever been treated like weapon instead of person." She looked at him. "Will you testify too?" "If you want me there, yes. I want you everywhere." Eden's smile was soft. "That's what mates do. Support each other. Face hard things together. Build life that works for both of us instead of one sacrificing for the other. Then that's what we'll do." Marcus kissed her. Gentle. The kind of kiss that said mine and yours and ours all at once. "We'll testify. We'll face the council. We'll change the kingdom. Together." Cassius's trial happened 1 month later. 3 weeks of testimony, dozens of witnesses, prosecutors presenting evidence of torture and illegal experimentation and crimes against Omegas that made the courtroom go silent. Eden testified for 6 hours, raw, unflinching, telling her story from capture to conversion to fighting programming to finally breaking free. Making everyone understand what Cassius had done wasn't salvation. It was torture disguised as purpose. Marcus testified for 3 hours, as commander who'd failed Kandahar mission, as Alpha King who'd shut down Project Nightfall, as mate who'd watched Eden suffer and spent 3 years trying to find her, making everyone understand the human cost of Cassius's research. Catherine testified for 4 hours, as former victim, as Omega who'd survived, as scientist who understood the research better than anyone except Cassius himself, making everyone understand the difference between studying Omegas and torturing them. 60 of the 87 converted prisoners testified, each telling their story, each explaining what it felt like to be turned into weapon, each making clear that Cassius's belief he was freeing them was delusion at best and cruelty at worst. The jury deliberated for 2 weeks, came back with verdict that tried to balance justice and complexity and the fact that some crimes didn't have clean answers. Guilty of torture, guilty of unauthorized experimentation, guilty of crimes against Omegas, but not guilty of attempted genocide because his intent had been transformation, not extermination. Sentenced to life imprisonment. Research to be used for rehabilitation of prisoners. Knowledge to serve people he'd harmed. Punishment and redemption mixed together the way justice rarely was but should be. Cassius accepted the verdict without emotion. Was led back to his cell where he'd spend the rest of his life trying to undo damage he'd done while believing he was helping. Marcus watched him go and felt something complicated settle in his chest. Not satisfaction, not closure, just acknowledgement that justice had been served even if justice couldn't fix everything that had been broken. Eden took his hand as they left the courthouse, squeezed gently. It's done. He can't hurt anyone else, can't turn any more people into weapons. That's what matters. Is it enough? Marcus needed to know. Enough for you, after what he did? Nothing would be enough. Eden's voice was honest. But this is something. He faces consequences, spends his life making amends. That's more than most monsters get. I'll take it. They walked through the palace gardens, away from crowds, away from politics. Just two mates taking a moment to breathe. 1 year later, Marcus stood in the same training yard where he'd found Eden the night before her Luna ceremony, watching new recruits run drills, teaching them combat and tactics and how to survive war without losing themselves. He'd established a program, Veterans Helping Veterans, soldiers who'd survived teaching soldiers who were starting. Eden's idea, implemented with council approval, funded by the kingdom, working better than anyone expected. Eden appeared at his elbow. She'd been in the medical wing working with converted prisoners, therapy, support, using her experience to help others navigate recovery from Omega conditioning. It was slow work, hard work, the kind that didn't get recognition but mattered more than parades. How's the new batch? Eden watched the recruits with the eye of someone who'd trained enough soldiers to recognize potential. Young, eager, think war is glory. Marcus kept his voice neutral. Same as every batch. We'll teach them better. We already are. Eden smiled, watched a recruit help another who'd fallen, watched cooperation instead of competition. That's different from how you trained us. Because we're teaching different lessons. Marcus pulled her close. Not just about winning, about surviving, about coming home whole instead of broken, about understanding that strength isn't about never falling, it's about getting back up. Garrett appeared with report. Catherine's legislation passed council. 6-1. Werner voted against, but everyone else supported. Omegas get full citizenship, legal protection, equal rights. It's official. Marcus felt something in his chest loosen. Progress. Real progress. Not perfect. Not everything Omegas deserved. But foundation. Starting point. Proof that the kingdom could change. How many Omegas in the kingdom now? Eden asked. 14. Garrett consulted his notes. The 4 we freed from cryo. The 87 converted prisoners, 63 of whom retained Omega classification. Plus you. Plus 3 more who came forward once they knew it was safe. 14 Omegas living openly for the first time in 3 centuries. And not one has attacked anyone. Eden stated fact. Not one has used their power for harm. Almost like we're just people who deserve rights instead of weapons who need to be contained. Werner's still pushing for monitoring. Garrett's expression said what he thought of that. Says we can't be too careful. That Omega power is inherently dangerous. Werner's wrong. Marcus stated simple truth. Omega power is just power, like alpha power, like any classification. It's dangerous when it's weaponized, when it's given to people who don't choose it, when it's used for control instead of connection. But when Omegas are given choice, given rights, given respect, they're no more dangerous than anyone else. You should say that at the council meeting tomorrow. Eden looked at him. Make it official policy. Make it clear that we're not going back to the old ways, that Omegas are citizens now, and that's not changing. I will. Marcus pulled her closer. Made it clear to anyone watching that their Alpha King loved his Omega Luna without shame or apology. We've come too far to let fear win now. That evening, Marcus and Eden stood on the palace balcony watching the sun set over the kingdom they led together. Alpha King and Combat Luna. Mates who'd survived 3 years of separation and programming and fear to build something better. Do you ever regret it? Eden asked quietly. Claiming me? Fighting the council? Changing everything? Never. Marcus didn't hesitate. Best decision I ever made. Should have made it 8 years ago, but I'm making it every day now. Even when I'm terrible at being traditional Luna, when I'm in combat gear more than formal dresses, when I spend more time in medical wing and training yard than throne room, especially then, because you're showing the kingdom what a real Luna looks like. Someone who leads by example, who remembers what it's like to be soldier, who fights for people instead of just ruling them. You're exactly what we need. We. Eden smiled. I like that. Not you the king, but we the mates, we the partners, we the team building something better. We, Marcus agreed. Always we. That's what the mate bond means, what being Alpha and Luna means, facing everything together, building life that works for both of us, never choosing duty over each other because we are each other's duty. They stood together as the sun painted the sky in shades of red and gold, as the kingdom settled into evening, as their mate bond pulsed contentedly between them. 14 Omegas living openly, 87 prisoners recovering, Cassius imprisoned but alive, Catherine on the council advocating for change, Drake pushing progressive legislation, Garrett protecting them all, and Marcus and Eden at the center, Alpha King and Omega Luna, mates who'd proven love was stronger than programming, who'd shown the kingdom that change was possible, who'd built foundation for future where Omegas were citizens instead of weapons. It wasn't perfect. Werner still opposed them. Some nobles still feared Omegas. Some citizens still believed the old laws were safer. Change was slow, progress was messy, but it was happening. Marcus looked at his Luna, at the woman who'd survived torture and programming and 3 years of hell, at the mate who made him better just by existing, at the partner who'd chosen him back even when choosing him meant fighting an entire kingdom. Thank you, he said quietly, for coming back, for fighting, for being brave enough to claim me when I was too scared to claim you first. Eden looked at him, at the Alpha King who'd spent 3 years searching for her, at the mate who'd refused to give up even when everyone said she was dead, at the partner who'd faced the council and changed laws and built new world just so she could live in it safely. Thank you for not giving up, for fighting for me, for showing me that I was worth saving even when I thought I was just weapon. You were never just weapon. Marcus kissed her, gentle, claiming, the kind of kiss that said mine and yours and ours. You were always my mate, always my Luna, always the person I'd burn the kingdom down for if that's what it took to keep you safe. The mate bond flared between them. Strong, permanent, unbreakable, proof that some things were stronger than programming, stronger than fear, stronger than 3 years of torture and separation. Love was stronger, choice was stronger. The bond between Alpha King and Omega Luna was stronger than any weapon Cassius could create. And together, they'd proven it. Together, they'd changed the kingdom. Together, they'd built future where Omegas could live openly, where mates could claim each other without fear, where change was possible even when change was hard. The sun set completely. Stars began appearing in the darkening sky. Marcus and Eden stood on the balcony wrapped in each other and the mate bond and the certainty that they'd survived the worst. Now they just had to build the best, together, always together. Because that's what mates did. That's what Alpha and Luna did. That's what 2 broken soldiers who'd found each other did. They survived, they healed, they built something better from the ashes of what had been, and they did it together, always together, forever together, the way the moon goddess had intended from the very beginning. Mine, Marcus's wolf whispered through the bond. Ours, Eden's wolf answered. And in that single word was everything. Survival, love, choice, future, hope. Everything they'd fought for, everything they'd earned, everything they'd built together. One word, infinite meaning. Ours.